Hello, and welcome to week one of the Reboot of LawClerk's inaugural virtual summit. I'm Kristen Tyler, one of the co-founders of LawClerk, and I'm so glad you're joining us today. In case you missed it, in June we hosted our first ever virtual summit. It was a half-day event and got great reviews. With this reboot, we will be highlighting some of our speakers in smaller, bite-sized segments that you can digest very easily week by week. Plus, the speakers will be joining us for Facebook Live sessions to dig a bit deeper into their topics and, of course, answer your questions. First up, the motivation powerhouse, who I'm proud to call a friend, Heather Hubbard. Heather is a former Big Law attorney and practice group leader who's done a major pivot to found her own company called All Rise. All Rise provides business strategy and consulting services for high-achieving professionals and entrepreneurs. Now, quick, before we get started, be sure to grab the nearest legal pad or open up a new notes page on your computer. Heather's going to walk us through her 5 steps to the art of the pivot, and I have a hunch you're going to want to take notes. Thank you so much, Heather, and thank you for joining us. Please enjoy week one of our virtual summit reboot.
It is a great time to be an attorney. It is a great time to be an attorney. And you might be thinking, have you lost your mind? We are all out here struggling right now. But I see so much opportunity for advancement and innovation that it gets me excited. We work in an industry that is really antiquated. And I think you know that. We're not that creative. We do things the same way over and over again because it's the way it's always been done. And what that means is we have really old models that do not work. Oftentimes when we talk about thinking outside the box, I like to tell people, well, the legal industry is a little bit different. They're a little bit special. Oftentimes when we think we're thinking outside the box, we're actually thinking outside the peanut. So if you can imagine a box, right, with all of those styrofoam peanuts inside it, we say we're thinking outside the box, but all we did was get outside of a single peanut. But here's what's happened with where we are in the world right now. That box of peanuts, it's completely been flipped over. There are peanuts flying in the sky, and there is no more, this is the way we've always done it. This is how we have to do it. We have a clean slate. We have an opportunity to finally have a voice, to finally show up and present things in creative ways such that people are going to be more likely to listen. We have an opportunity to serve our clients in a different way. We have an opportunity to market and sell to our clients in a different way. And we have an opportunity to create brand new offers and just get really, really innovative. And that excites me. Now, here's the good news for you. You are actually in the best position to do that. And here's why. You are doing this seminar with LawClerk, and LawClerk is innovative. I have been behind them from day one, partly because I know Kristen Tyler, who is one of the founders of LawClerk, and she is absolutely amazing and innovative. In fact, I had her on episode 59 of the Hustle and Flow podcast, where we talked about disrupting the legal marketplace. So they know a thing or two about innovation and creativity and pivoting. And the fact that you know of LawClerk and you trust LawClerk, that tells me that you too are innovative. You at least have that spirit inside of you. So we just have to uncover it, because it is a great time to be an attorney if you have an entrepreneurial mindset. So if you're not feeling great right now as a lawyer, that means it is time to pivot. And even if things are going well, it doesn't hurt to actually explore pivoting, because it could be that you can find even better ways to do something right now. All right, so let's go through the 5 steps to really learning how to master the art of pivoting. Step number 1 is to set the scene and think like a creative. Think like a creative entrepreneur. Notice this is an art. It's not a science. That means we have to be creative, not logical. It means we have to be innovative and take risks as opposed to doing what feels really secure. It means we have to tap into the right side of our brains, not the left, which is not comfortable for most of us. That's not how we're trained. We are trained to look for what might go wrong. We are trained to look for all of the issues, right? We're always issue spotting, and we're trying to minimize risks. That's not going to help us when it comes to pivoting. The fastest way to kill a great idea is to pull out a legal pad and start taking notes. It will absolutely get you in your lawyer brain, and that's not going to help. So what you want to do is you actually want to create a mood. You want to create an environment that supports creative thinking. And this may sound silly, but I promise you it's going to make a world of difference in helping you get outside of your legal brain and into that creative right side of your brain. So get some colored paper out, get some colored Post-it notes, get some colored markers, whatever you need to do. Get a whiteboard, get white space, and really be in that creative place. That is step number one. If you skip that step, I promise you your ideas are not going to be as strategic and creative as they might be otherwise. Okay, step number two. You want to start at the top of the strategy pyramid. And you might be asking, well, what exactly is the strategy pyramid? Well, it's part of step 6 of my 7-step life and law blueprint. And I developed this back in 2015, but it is just as, if not more relevant today than ever. I just did an accelerator with my highest level mastermind, and we went through the blueprint, and they were like, oh my gosh, it is as if you wrote this for the time we are in. But here's the thing, the foundational principles, they are strong. They are always true, regardless of what's going on in the world. And step 6 is all about strategy. And the strategy pyramid states, you must always have a pyramid if you want to be strategic in getting where you want to go. So here's the deal. As you look at this, vision is at the very top. And from there, it goes vision, strategy, goals, projects, and tasks. Now, if you start at the bottom, if you are just working on tasks all the time, and what that means is you are doing all the things, maybe you are working all the time, or maybe you are doing a ton of business development, you're kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and nothing's really paying off, you're going to plateau. So as you can see, that's not a pyramid, you plateau. Similarly, you might move up into projects or even up into goals or even have a concrete strategy, but you're still going to plateau. Now, I don't have time to go into all of this in a ton of detail, but if you want a copy of the entire blueprint, all 7 steps, you can grab a free copy at heatherjoyhubbard.com/blueprint. But here's the thing, you want to start at the top of the pyramid, and that means you start with vision. What do you want to achieve? Now, that may sound simple, but a lot of people forget that step, especially in a time like this when we feel as though we have to take in anything that walks in the door, or that we just kind of have to throw spaghetti against the wall. This is not a time to really get honed in or narrow on something, but that's actually the opposite is true. Vision is going to help you sell more, and it's going to help you stay in a better place throughout this entire process, however long this might last. It's also going to potentially help you find a solution that you find is better than what you were doing before. So as it relates to pivoting, I want to get super practical. There are 3 questions that you can ask yourself within this strategy pyramid. And the first one is, what is my problem and what is my client's problem? So if your problem is there aren't as many clients hiring you, or your problem is the courts are closed, whatever it is, right? What is your problem that's keeping you from having what you want right now? And then what is your client's problem? Either in terms of hiring you, in knowing about you, in knowing about your services, or just what is their problem in general, as in why would they be hiring you in the first place? Okay, so just what is your problem and what is their problem? Now, I want you to flip it, right? It's the same coin, but it's different sides. That side of the coin is that lawyer brain that we were talking about back in step 1. So you want to flip the script, and instead of looking at the problem, although that's often where we start, So go ahead and start there. I then want you to flip it and say, what do I want? What do I want? So as opposed to trying to solve the problem, you flip it and instead say, well, what is it that I want? Maybe it's I want more revenue, or I want to be able to file more cases. Whatever it is for you, what do you want? And what does your client want? What do they want? That's going to help you think in a more creative place. And then the third question that you ask, and this is where it's going to move you into strategy. So the vision really is, what do you want? And then you move to strategy. And strategy is, what are the different ways in which I can get what I want? What are the different ways in which I can get my clients what they want? Now, that may sound simple, but this really does work. This is how you develop a strong, creative strategy. Which leads me to step number 3, which is give your lawyer brain a job. Because you might already be thinking, well, this sounds pretty simplistic. I'm a bit skeptical. Yeah, that's your lawyer brain at work, okay? As I said in step 1, we got to set that aside. So here's the best way to make that happen. Give the lawyer brain a job. So now I actually do want you to get back out that legal pad, and I do want you to issue spot. And here's what you are going to be looking out for. Every single time you have the thought or you say, I can't do that. That won't work. That would never fly. I shouldn't do that. That would be inappropriate. That would be too hard. I don't want to do that. Anything that is negative, that is skeptical, that is judgmental, that is your lawyer brain at work. And that is awesome. Start issue spotting it. And every time you have one of those thoughts, write it down on your legal pad. Now, again, this is one of those things that's going to sound a little bit weird, but when you actually write something down, when you put pen to paper, it lets your brain actually take a break, right? So if you don't actually give your lawyer brain a job, it is going to constantly be arguing and telling you why the creative side of the brain is doing it all wrong. So give it a job. Let it write down those thoughts on the legal pad. But here's the key. I want you to social distance. I want you to keep this legal pad at least 6 feet away from your Post-it notes and your whiteboard and the creative thinking that you're doing. Don't put them together. Keep them apart. Which leads me to step number 4, which is brainstorm like an entrepreneur. We can look to Sarah Blakely, the CEO, the founder of Spanx, as a great example. Now, if you're not familiar with Sarah, she is one of the first self-made female billionaires in the United States. Fun fact, her father was an attorney. And in fact, she wanted to grow up and be an attorney. She took the LSAT, and as she says, she bombed. And so she did not get into law school and was selling fax machines instead. And so she was going out one night when she noticed that she had on white pants that you could kind of see through. She was wanting to have the silhouette of what you would get if you were wearing like shape pantyhose. For you men listening, we wear pantyhose that kind of suck things in. It makes us look and feel better. But she couldn't do that because she was wearing these crop pants and she had on these strappy heels and people would be able to see. So she was like, what should I do? And so she literally took scissors out and she cut the pantyhose, and so she wore them. But there were lines, and she was like, this is actually something that people should fix. So she went about doing that. And she started doing research, and she started going to manufacturers to see if they could actually develop her prototype. And so she started asking them questions. And one thing that she found out was that all of the pantyhose manufacturers and the bra manufacturers, the undergarment manufacturers, they were all men. Men were designing and manufacturing these products. And so Sarah would walk in and say, well, why do you do that? Or why do you use that? Or how do you test it that way? And she was just being curious, asking genuine questions. And their answer was often, well, this is the way it's always been done, which kind of sounds like the legal industry, right? So she just kept asking questions. And she says, when you are trying to innovate, when you are trying to come up with a new idea that's going to work, you want to question everything. Question everything. Come from a place of curiosity. Curiosity is the path to creativity. So get out those Post-it notes and start brainstorming all of the different ideas as to how might this work? How might this work? If I want to achieve this, if this is what I want that would make me happy, if this is what my clients want, and again, we're still talking about the flip side of the problem. Your lawyer brain might be back to, what are we talking about? You've got your problem related to business development, revenue, serving your clients being able to hire you as well. And then we're looking at, well, what is it that we really want? And we're brainstorming all of the possible solutions. And the way that you brainstorm is to not think with that lawyer brain. It's to think like Sarah and other inventors and entrepreneurs who are just curious and they question and they say, well, what if? What if we did this? What would happen if we tried this? What would be a solution? So many times lawyers will tell me things like, well, I can't do that, or that's not the way the courts work. Here's the deal. Someone has to come up with a solution. Might as well be you. So whatever you're faced with, I want you to brainstorm without any restrictions whatsoever. And I want you to keep drilling down. So if you come up with a potential solution, and let's say it is something that is not actually in your laws, right? Like it's not actually supported. Maybe it's related to witness signings. And so you might be like, well, that's a dead end. No, that is not how a creative entrepreneur thinks. They keep digging. They keep getting curious. And they say, well, what would it take to actually change that? Would we need to petition the courts? Would we need to change the laws? Are there ways that we can actually do things differently? And then keep digging. Keep getting curious. Maybe ask, well, why do we have to do it that way? Are we sure we have to do it that way? That's where you are going to get lots of great ideas, especially with business development. So many people just do what they see others doing, and they hire the same people to offer the same marketing and the same advertising. But what if you had that entrepreneurial mindset and you started to brainstorm like a creative, where you got really, really curious and you started asking, well, what if? So now that you have all of these great ideas, some of which may seem completely crazy, it's time for step 5, which is make the right move. Now, we're not trying to be perfectionists here, right? So keep that lawyer brain over there, social distancing with the legal pad. But you do want to be smart about the moves that you make. So the key to making the right move, to making the smart move, is to be grounded but nimble. That really is the key to pivoting, being grounded but nimble. If you are only grounded, then you are going to freeze. You are going to wait to see what happens. You are going to hide. You are going to be risk averse, and you are going to be left behind. Do not make that mistake. Now, the opposite is also true, and that is when you are really nimble, right? Sometimes that means you are panicking and you are being reactive and you are just throwing things out like a crazy person. You too are going to get left behind, but in a different way. You are going to completely burn yourself out. You are going to be exhausted, and you're probably not going to get great results. Not to mention, you are a lawyer that someone looks to for expertise and for guidance. If they see you completely freaking out, if they see you not having it together, and I don't mean you have to be, you don't have to have it all together all the time, but if you are being super panicky and reactive, people will see that, and you are going to lose business in the long run. So what you want to do, you don't want to freeze, you don't want to be in flight mode. Instead, you want to be grounded but nimble. You want to pause. You want to create a little bit of space to make sure that you are looking at things from a rational perspective. You want to take calculated risks. You do have to take risks. Pivoting, the smartest pivoting, requires risks, but just know it is a calculated risk. So what we want to do is we want to take that brilliant lawyer brain of yours And we want to take the entrepreneurial brain of yours, because you do have it, or you would not be watching this video, and we want to marry the two. And this is the best opportunity and the best time for you to pivot in a way that is going to be great for you, great for your clients, and you might just be seen as a trailblazer in the legal industry. So there you have it. Those are the 5 steps to mastering the art of the pivot. You've got this. It is a great time to be a lawyer if you have an entrepreneurial mindset. You've totally got this. Go innovate, go create, go pivot, take action, even if it feels uncomfortable. And don't forget to be the shark.